All right, so I just copied your picture here. I think you did a really good job on atmospheric perspective, and I think you did a really good job on like the foreshortenings and stuff like that. I'm looking at it though, and I'm seeing some composition things that I would change. First of all, I'm just gonna, oops, I'm just going to create a new layer here. Okay, so, and I'll start by marking up some red. Okay, so when I'm looking at this, the sword pointed like this instinctively draws my eye to this. And the reason that is because this is just this, it's got a much redder tone than everything else does. So it's kind of this weird, like, you know, you've got this line here, it draws it into here. You've got this sharp line drawing it into here. And I would tell you to take it out if possible. Um, there's some other things that you can do instead that I think would give you a lot more focus on the character than than anything else. It's just it's too red and it's too like it instinctively draws my eye. So that's the first thing I would say right off the bat is kind of fix that rock right there. The next thing that I would tell you is I would actually scale this guy up a little bit bigger. And the reason being is because if you look at him, and I'm just going to go here. Actually, let's just do this instead. So what if you're assuming that these are 6 foot characters, okay? And I'm just going to use this guy as a 6 foot character, and we'll say this guy is he's a 6 foot character too. So by doing that, what I'm basically saying is I'm taking this character and just kind of roughing out the size relationship of these two characters. So by that saying that, by me saying that, I expect that this character here is going to be, a lot bigger. So as you can see, I'm just grabbing these 6 feet characters, and I think this would be really just significantly bigger. So that's another thing that you really want to pay attention to. I would probably scale him up at least kind of a little bit more, and I would actually I like how you blocked it out here, um, and I like your faded edges here so that the legs go back in. What I would say is if these are, and I've never played The Witcher, sorry, so I wouldn't know the model, but I would say rag up these pants legs a little bit more, and I think that is going to kind of help you kind of flow that character in a little bit more. Um, so that's something else I would tell you to look at too. Um, from a compositional standpoint too, what I would say is um, I would tell you to like, and this is just me thinking out loud, because I'm looking at this and like I said, your composition flows here, and this one pushes down here. Um, you have very little that actually tells me to kind of look at this character. This one here kind of breaks up that and tells me to look this way. This tells me to look off the canvas. So what I would say is, some things that you could probably do are to kind of take this boat in the background here, and like I like the idea, but you want to get me looking back around, and that's kind of where the what do they call it? The golden rule comes in. Um, the golden rule would have me kind of start up here, and it might be just a need for cropping, things like that. But take a look at the golden rule. Let me grab one of those real quick from someplace. And just going to copy that here and kind of paste that, and I'm going to transform it here. And so this is, on average, this is basically what the golden rule looks like here. So I'm going to just multiply this so we can see through it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to transform the vertical. And as you can see, the golden rule really doesn't fit anywhere. It's your composition has a decent curve going here. But what I would say is if you shrink your composition a little bit more, and you can see this automatically starting to take place. I'm just shrinking this composition, and like so. I'm going to remove my red lines, and then I'll create a new layer. And so you can see, you know, by having him be the center of the composition, this actually makes a little bit more sense from a compositional standpoint. So what I would do is, you know, you've got here, it's following the sword, it moves up here. This is really good. You might want to, you know, create some sort of a cliff or overhang to bring me back down. This rock then becomes much more valid. It flows up here, and then it flows like that. So you've actually got, if you crop this, and I'm just gonna, if I crop this, that golden rule now becomes a lot more interesting. Let me just erase some of these scratch marks here. And then I'm just going to take black and simply paint bucket, and I hope, there we go. So now this looks a lot, I think a lot interesting, more interesting, and you don't have all this like external space going on. And then you could, if this is on a separate layer, which I hope you put it on a separate layer, then you could actually, you know, put him a little bit bigger and things like that. And I think it just makes more sense this way. So those are from a compositional standpoint. So what I would tell you to do is, if you're, you know, one, change the composition. Two, I would say off the bat, to make the this rock here a little bit more desaturated. And I think because you've got such muted tones here, and this one's just so warm, and it just, and with the sword drawing there, it instinctively points me to the sword. I would maybe even pop in a little bit more yellow highlights. I mean, not like super yellow, but just a little bit variant, because those yellow highlights, I think, would draw me to the central figure a little bit more. So that being said, the other thing I would say is, and I'm just going to zoom into about 100% right here. So at 100%, I think you did a really good job with the rocks. You might want to just add a little bit more noise to it, and I think that'll add it. So also too, watch here. It's just a little, I'm nitpicking now, but when I zoom up on this, look at the how it seems like this color merges with that color. Separate the colors a little bit more to get them, I would say, you know, to more of a defined, you know, separate him a little bit more. And I think that's some of the things that you have to do. But I think overall, without all these, you know, that stuff in there, I think you did a really good job of the painting itself. I think it's just those kind of compositional areas that I'm looking at that I'm like, it just doesn't look real, like it just doesn't focus on what I want to focus on. And then with this in here, the rule of thirds also fits a lot better, because the rule of thirds is basically, you know, if I divide my canvas into roughly 3 equal parts, and I think that fits this because now he's a central part, and then, you know, you kind of create that central line, the horizontal line of your rock, and the baseline of this, and I think that matches up really well. So that might be something you want to try. All right, I hope that helps.